Well, I'm going to do something different again today. I'm going to use PowerPoint again. And NASA called me and wanted me to do PowerPoint on why we can't go to Mars. No, the internet and YouTube and Copilot and Grok, they all make us experts on everything. So I thought I've been practicing on using PowerPoint, and I like it when preachers use PowerPoint because it gives you're using more senses than just your ears. You can see the verses, you can see where they got their ideas from when they put it up on screen. And I thought, well, I need to do something about a trip to Mars. Betsy wants me to move to Mars if I can, and so I come up. I was explaining to her why I can't do that because I won't be able to come back. She said, exactly. Okay, well, what I did was a PowerPoint. I'll just read off of it, and you can see what I got. And I've listened to several of the YouTube clips of more people wanting to do Mars missions. Elon Musk, he knows, and he has said his volunteer. He's had people volunteer and pay money to go to Mars, knowing they can't come back, and they've learned that through you know the space station going to the moon. They went in 1969, and for some reason they forgot how to go back to the moon, and it makes you wonder, did it even go the first time? I've always thought they did. Yes, they went to the moon, but now they don't know how to get back to the moon. They can tell everybody how to get there, but they don't know how themselves. Lost my train of thought. I don't know where I'm at. But Elon Musk wants to send somebody to Mars, knowing they can't come back. We hadn't got there yet. And Mars doesn't, like I have on my presentation, Mars doesn't have a return policy. You go, you're not coming back until they come up with some better way than what the SpaceX has right now. He can get there, but most, odds are they can make it to Mars. They might die before they get there, but they could probably get there, but it's getting back. The fuel it takes to get there, you got to slow down before you get to Mars. Then you got to orbit, then you got to land, but then you got to have the fuel to get back, and we don't have anything that can carry that much fuel yet. And why are we so fascinated with Mars? Well, you might not be, but I just I like watching and listening to the YouTube videos while I'm working or while I'm busy doing something around the house. And I told Bitch the other day, I said, "You're like a teenager picking up." You need to get back to work. Picking up after you is like picking up after a teenager. And since I'm retired, I became the wife. But anyway, Mars is our neighbor. That people say, hey, that's Mars. Humans have always wanted to explore that. Not me, but overall, humans have always wanted to explore. I'm content to stay put. Find me a good safe spot and stick with it. And it looks easy to go to Mars, but it's not as easy as it looks. Once you read and study and listen to the experts, and I do like Don Preston. I use Copilot, my favorite, and I also use Grok some. But me and Don, we're two peas in the pod when it comes to AI and using it to, using it for stuff that we're interested in, and then that way we can We can pretend we know more than we actually do. And it would make a great movie if we could go back to, if we could go to Mars, recall, like I put that, recall, Total Recall. That was a good movie. It was fantasy, but it was a good movie. But what if we actually did go to Mars, even if they couldn't come back? It would make a good movie. And I listed some reasons. I went to the NASA website and I meant to post the link on this, but I don't think I know how yet in PowerPoint. But I went to the NASA's website and I reworded some of this in my language, but most of it is their wording. And well, it's their information kind of reworded in my language, in my country boy language. But the number one reason, they had 5 reasons listed, and I've listed one more that I'd read about, and it's a bonus, and we'll get to it last. Space radiation isn't like the sunshine we get in Ardmore. It's a constant storm of high energy particles that cut through the human body like a bullet. It damages cells faster than they can repair themselves. They've learned all of this, with the moon landing. NASA has got decades of data to go by. And these probes they have sent to Mars, we've got probes on Mars right now crawling around. They even had a helicopter drone on Mars, it flying around. They've learned. They got the data. They know a human body cannot stand the radiation for the time it would take to go to Mars and back. Even just to get to Mars. Once they got to Mars, it would take a long time, months. It would take months to get there, almost a year, and probably closer to 2 years, I've read, because they got to slow down. They've got to do a couple of orbits. Then they got to land. It would months to a year or so. And that's a lot of radiation, a lot of time for the radiation. And we have the magnetic field on Earth. Mars don't have one. And that magnetic field, we can see it now. Aurora, if you live up north, they see it. I've never seen it. Hadn't been that far north. Don't plan on going. But it has no way to protect them once they're on the planet. Cancer risk, weakening of the heart, what the radiation does to the bodies. They learn a lot of that from nuclear bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It's a slow but silent and relentless. It's the radiation effects. It's deadly unless we can figure out how to shield them from the universe don't care how brave they are or how stupid they are to go to Mars. But they don't care. They don't have that figured out yet, how to protect them from the radiation. And the isolation. That's the one thing I thought, they can overcome that, being isolated. I mean, we've got men in prisons that they'll isolate them for years. But, and actually, I think our government studies prisoners in secret when they put them in isolation. I believe that's part of the study and the learning they get from the effects of isolation on a human. I don't put nothing past our government. I really don't. But the isolation, how do you train for it? They can training. It'll toughen them up, sure, but nothing on earth truly prepares you for the kind of quiet that comes when you're months from home, months from Mars, and months from getting back. Imagine going months to a dot in the sky and, you're by yourself. They may have a couple. Well, I don't think they could send just one person to Mars. I think it will have to be a team. But could you imagine the cat fights that break out? after so long. After so long, isolation may not be the biggest danger compared to the radiation, but it still would wear on your mind. And it would. They know this through studies and the data they've gathered. But that is the one thing they believe they can overcome with training. And the distance to Mars. It's we think of it. It's our nearest. It's a near neighbor, not our nearest, but it's a neighbor. No problem getting there. But yeah, it's a big. The distance alone is a big problem, and we talk about it like it's next town over. It's not. When they send a message from the probe from one of those probes on Mars, it'll take 20 up to 40 minutes sometimes to get to us. But the minimum is 20 minutes there and back, which comes to 40 minutes to finish one conversation. If I had a question, NASA, or Houston, we have a problem. What do we do? NASA's not going to hear that, or Houston ain't. They're not going to hear that for 20 minutes. And then NASA sends a message back, you're on your own, bud. And they're waiting on some brilliant instructions on what to do. And then it comes in, you're on your own. 20 minutes later, our probes can make that trip. They've got, like I said, little dune buggies, what I call them, and a helicopter, drone. They've got that on Mars already. And it's been there for years. But some of them. And I think they're constantly sending more as they can, but they have to wait for the what they call a launch window because Mars has that elliptical orbit and they want to send up something when it's the right time. That window they have to launch to get to Mars the easiest and the shortest way, the shortest distance. The distance stretches every problem, isolation, radiation, and help from Earth is slower than you can wrap your mind around. It's not just far. It's no quick rescue, no quick fix, no quick anything. It's far. It's a long ways. And I had to I looked up the miles it is to Mars, and I forget what they were. Another one is the gravity. I don't know if y'all seen the movie Gravity before, but it was Sandra Bullock and that liberal hack that I cannot hardly watch anything he plays in. But we did watch that movie Gravity, and it's a pretty good movie, but so full of it, you know yourself. Well, gravity's not doesn't act like that. Well, it's one of the problems. We don't think about. It's because what it does to the human body. And they've learned a lot on the space station and trips to space of what gravity or lack of gravity does to the human body. And they've had to, let's say, let me just read this one. Astronauts float around like it's fun and games on the space station, but when they come home, some of them have had to be carried off the capsule because months without gravity have eaten away at their muscles and thinned their bones. No stretch that out to a 2 to 4 year Mars mission, they far outstretch it. Your body is built for Earth, for weight, for the pressure, for the constant pull that keeps your bones strong and your heart pumping the right way. Take that away long enough and everything starts to weaken. Balance, strength, bone density, even how your blood moves. And that's from NASA's own website. The things they have learned what gravity does to the human body, or the more like the lack of gravity. We need it to survive. And a closed system, like their suits, their rocket, And then when they get to Mars, it will all be in a closed system. They can't take their helmet off when they get to Mars. It's got to stay on till they get back to Earth. They will have to carry their own environment with them, and it's closed. Nothing can come in and nothing can go out. It's a closed system. That's what that means. Now, they have ways of getting rid of waste, human waste, but you know what I mean. The atmosphere has to stay closed. You can't just open the door and throw a bucket out the window. The old saying, he ain't got a bucket or a window to throw it out of. A bucket to, you know what? That's the way the Mars mission will be. It might keep the air clean and the temperature steady, but it does something to the human body. Human does something to our immune system. When you see people inside a spacecraft for years, breathing the same recycled air, touching the same surface day after day, the immune system starts to get lazy. It isn't fighting off usual mix of germs, pollen, and everyday irritants we deal with on Earth, so it weakens. And I know a thing or two about a weakened immune system. I get other people's antibodies every 3 weeks. That's part of my treatment. And I've been doing that for 10 years. I go every 3 weeks, and it may soon become 2 weeks, but for now it's every 3 weeks. I go and get antibodies from blood donations, or, people donate blood and they do what they have to do to spin the antibodies out of it. Blood, what do you call it? Blood. Uh, well, they can get everything out of blood, and I get people's immune systems. What I get. NASA research shows that stress, isolation, and constant hum of a hostile environment can make the immune system misfire. Just the stress level, and that we all know that affects the immune system. On a 2 to 4 year Mars mission, that means small infections can turn serious. Allergies can flare in strange ways, and the body's defenses can slip right when you need them most. A closed system keeps you alive, but it doesn't keep you healthy. And that's a problem that they have learned, and no training can fully erase it. And then I got one more that I remembered. This is a bonus reason we ain't going to Mars and back anytime soon. I read an article. I don't remember where I got this from, but I'm sure NASA has this, but I read this off of something else, or maybe heard it on a YouTube clip, but I read it off of something else. The Mars dust is a problem all by itself. It's not like the dirt we kick around in Ardmore or anywhere else. It's finer than talcum powder, sharp like ground glass, and it sticks to everything. Once it gets into the suit, a ship, or a piece of equipment, it doesn't come back out easy. Astronauts who work with lunar dust say it gets into your lungs, your eyes, your tools, even the electronics. And Mars dust is worse than the moon dust. On a long mission, that dust would follow you everywhere. Into air filters, into machinery, into living quarters. There's no escaping it. They know that. And breathing that stuff for months or years isn't just uncomfortable, it's dangerous, it's deadly. It's one more reminder that Mars isn't a friendly neighbor waiting for visitors. It's a world that fights you every step of the way. They've got to overcome all of that stuff before we can send someone to Mars and return them. They can go to Mars, but they're not coming back. And I hope NASA's satisfied with my presentation. Y'all remember that Twilight Zone? Bigsby, was it? He had a little general store, and he was constantly coming up with stories. And some aliens come down and said they come after him because they wanted the smartest man in the world. And that was Bigsby, and I can't remember his first name, but he knew it all. And they took him up in space, and in no time they brought him back. They realized they don't know nothing. He's a dummy. Anyway, that's what I got. I'm practicing my PowerPoint, and I hope y'all got something out of this. I did. I, I had a bunch of jokes to put in here, but I didn't. I got tired. I had a bunch to put in here to make it funny, but I got tired, and that is what it is. And I thank you for listening, and I'll see y'all next time.